welcome back to my channel. This is Sofa Sessions episode 4 and I am joined by Sophie Linder-Lee. Hi Sophie, how are you?
I'm good. When you said the word sofa sessions, I thought you were saying Sophie. So I was like, hello!
Sounds quite similar, doesn't it? So Sophie on the sofa session.
There you
Sophie
go.
on the sofa, there we go.
Oh my God, think of just spam a podcast name.
So let's start, Sophie, by just hearing a little bit about you, about your career, about your life, about everything that you do would be great.
Well, oh gosh, why? Where do I start? So I am an actress and a singer. Obviously, I've done musical theatre for the majority of my career. Mamma Mia, Rocky Horror Show, Wicked, and I've now moved into comedy, which is very different, but still musical theatre is my passion. And alongside all of that, I also trained. This is when I was standby Glinda. I decided I was going to, had a bit of spare time on my hands, didn't I? I decided I was going to train as a life coach.
Yeah.
So I did that sort of while sitting in the dressing room and all of that stuff when I wasn't on. And then what happened was I had some mental health issues of my own. After a bit of a rough tour. It was the first time I'd sort of toured the UK when I was doing Rocky Horror. I'd done tours before, a UK busy, week by week change of venue tour. And it was 2016. And a lot of stuff happened in the world in 2016. Brexit, Trump got into power. It was chaos.
Yes.
And I was very tired being on tour and felt unstable, not being at my own house and all the rest of it. Anyway, I left that job and I got quite poorly with my mental health. I was super stressed. And I also have Crohn's disease, and that was playing up, and all the rest of it was happening. And I was really poorly for quite a few months with burnout, anxiety, depression, OCD, very poorly, couldn't work, had to go live with my mum, that sort of stuff. And then when I came out of the other side of that, I had so much support and help, which was amazing. And I just thought, God, I hope no one else goes through that. And our life is quite specific as performers. We have completely different stressors. Maybe athletes are the only sort of people that are quite similar. But the traveling and the rejection, all the things that come with being a performer, it's a stressful life. And I thought, if I can help people to avoid burnout like I did, then I will. So I went and trained and did my counselling skills. And now I'm doing my diploma in cognitive behavioural therapy, which is a therapy that I had, which is incredible and is the go-to for the NHS for anxiety, depression, OCD, all of that sort of stuff. What we call low intensity mental health issues. And I mean, they're not low intensity when you're feeling them.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they're not.
It's just categories that they put it into. And I have pledged forward on my mission to help performers deal with their lives. So manage their stress, avoid burnout, audition anxiety, performance anxiety, changes of career, all of that sort of stuff. So I've kind of molded my skills as a life coach and sort of well-being, and smashed it all together, and I'm just on a mission to kind of make life easier for performers. And there are tools if you know them, but we're not taught them really from a young age.
No, it's not something you learn at school, is it? How to look after your mental health. They talk about sort of physical fitness and keeping fit and healthy, but keeping fit and healthy means so many things. It's not just your physical fitness.
No. And mental health is so nuanced. It's so, sometimes you can't see that there's a deterioration until it's too late. And some people don't realize, habits that aren't serving them until it's too late. And I think things are getting better because we talk about it more, and things are being implemented now, I think, for the next generation. We've got a whole generation of performers now that are haven't got the tools, unfortunately. And so, yeah, that's kind of where I step in. And I work a lot with colleges, I work with dance schools and theatre schools, and then one-to-one with graduates, working professionals, you know, across the board, really, teachers, in the performing arts, that sort of stuff. I work with mums because I'm a mum, and that's stressful, managing the two. So, yeah, that's kind of my mission, make life easier. And I want you to be able to understand your kind of internal and external world and be able to process them, because once you have the understanding and the education and the awareness, then that's where the real magic and the real change starts to happen.
Absolutely. And I think it's normalizing it as well, isn't it? It's a normal thing. It's something that everyone will go through at some point in their either personal or creative, you know, career life. So
absolutely, it's your nervous system. Like, it's set up, it comes from your nervous system essentially, unless, you know, it's well, I say serious, they're all serious, but if you get a diagnosis of a mental health disorder, which is different, an illness, you know, which is a different category, you know, that's different. It needs to be dealt with in a way, obviously usually psychiatric care, in a way that is different from where anxiety, depression, those sort of things that are kind of episodic is what we call them, and stress related, that kind of anyone is susceptible to. It's genetic, but it's also environmental, but anyone's kind of susceptible to those things, as opposed to the sort of the stuff that's diagnosed as a mental illness. So you're looking at different things like schizophrenia, borderline personality disorder, bipolar. When you start going into that kind of area, that's different. And it can be again combination of genetics and environment, but and certainly anxiety, depression, burnout, stress, PTSD, all of those sorts of stuff are anyone can suffer, unfortunately. And it's because it's all coming from your central nervous system, and we should all have one of those, because otherwise we wouldn't be here.
So that's sort of I feel like you've given us so much information there already. So you've given a few reasons as to why you should go and have coaching or talk to somebody at least. How important do you think it is that you don't keep yourself closed up, that you go, you talk to people, especially after like the last year and a half, I guess, nearly, that we've had? How important do you think it is that you, as a performer or a creative, that you get out there and you speak to somebody, whether it's a friend, whether it's a professional? How big is that?
I think it's just as important as going for a singing lesson or a dance class. Like, it should be up there at the same level, because if you don't deal with the stress and the life stuff and things where, you know, you could have a guide or a coach, or even just, you know, an outpouring to a friend, if you don't deal with that, then it is going to have a knock-on effect on the actual practical skill side of stuff. It just will. It's going to affect your performance. It's going to affect everything else. So it's absolutely vital, because it's the core of everything. I believe it personally, that's where everything kind of stems from. You know, often people come to see me, sometimes with quite superficial things on the surface. You know, I want to change of direction. I want to not feel nervous when I sing, you know, all of that sort of stuff. Or when I'm in an audition, or I get this on stage. And usually what happens is we find that it's something that is a thought process or something else that's happening that is impacting how they feel with those, what they consider quite superficial practical stuff. And if you could sort of deal with that and give them tools, then the transformation's huge. So, and I think that's the gap that's often missing in our world, is the looking at how you think, feel, express and behave, because they're all of the human parts of you. And if you ignore that, then you might end up feeling stuck. Yeah,
absolutely. So it was your own experiences that made you go into coaching?
Yeah, it was. Well, I'd already done my life coaching because I always loved to teach, and I kind of wanted to expand on that. I'd been doing a business and realized I wasn't very good at the business, but I was really good at training people and coaching people. And that's kind of where that stemmed from. I thought, I'll leave the business and I'll just go into this coaching kind of sort of arena. because, you know, that's what I'm good at, with the idea that I was going to coach performers and, you know, do all of that. But really it was my own experience that pushed me more into the well-being side of stuff, because I just thought if people can learn these tools, then their whole experience of being a performer will be much more enjoyable and healthier.
Yeah, absolutely. Had you experienced any sort of mental health issues like previously before your tour contract?
Yeah, I had actually. I'd had anxiety attacks that had come up as a teenager. Actually, the first time was when my gran died, and I realised I would die one day.
Right.
Quite normal, actually. That's quite a normal cognitive teenage sort of thing to experience.
Yeah.
But also, I'd had this random phobia of dogs, which is well gone now. We love your Gus, gorgeous, not scared at all of him, but and maybe that was how it was. Exactly. I love dogs now, so odd, but that was obviously how it presented in childhood, as an anxiety like that. And I'd had anxiety at college. I used to have anxiety attacks every night in my second year as I was falling asleep. Obviously that was a physical stress of being at college and all the other mental stresses that come with that. And I'd had a period in every show probably I'd done, actually, when I think about it now. But, you know, they were sort of episodic anxiety sort of attacks that came through as, or there'd be times when I just felt rubbish and stressed. And then I had a big bout when I was playing Glinda, where I'd have lots of attacks on stage and just felt really unwell. And some of it was linked to health anxiety, very sensitive. So it was all kind of bubbling under the surface probably for years. Yeah. And then culminated in that big kind of breakdown. So yeah, if you can nip it in the bud, as it were, sooner rather than later, and get to work and put the tools in, you can avoid how it kind of snowballs, because it's stress does snowball.
So what's been let's go back sort of to your performing career. What's been your favourite moment in your performing career?
Oh my goodness. I always had this vision as a kid that I wanted to stand in the middle of the stage with a spotlight on me, and for it to be pitch black and to be singing a really deep and meaningful song. And when I had a moment where I remembered that, when I was Glinda, standing doing Thank Goodness and singing, I couldn't be happier, all of that, you know. And I just thought, oh my God, I'm doing it. I'm actually doing what I wanted to do. I never thought I'd get to that point. Because I kind of came up as a dancer who covered. And then as I've gotten older, I've made the transition into roles. But really, I didn't realize I was always a character actress. But, you know, I came from a dancing sort of background. So that was pretty epic when I realized that I'd done that and made the vision happen. And so that was a real big moment. But I also, another career highlight, oh my God, there's so many. Actually thinking about it, I've been super lucky. Now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, wow, getting to do like Big Fish with Kelsey Grammer was amazing. That was such a beautiful show and a beautiful cast. That was incredible. And Kelsey's so lovely. There was a scene on his first day of rehearsal just between him and I was like, oh! I was so nervous, but he was so nice. And it was lovely. I had to kiss him. It was so weird. I was like, I'm kissing Fraser. And they cut the kiss in the end, but I did it quite a few times in rehearsals, thrilled. And then obviously working with Channing Tatum, like that was quite massive. And I remember them offering me the job and me being like, what the actual? And I was in Canada visiting my other half because he was living there at the time. And it was the morning of his 30th birthday. And I got the news, because obviously you're behind in Canada. So I got the news sort of that morning. Had a very big celebration that night. And then they said, so in a few weeks' time, you're gonna need to fly out to LA because you're gonna work with Channing his house for a few days on the script. I was like, what?
Oh my God.
I know. I can't tell you how many nervous poos I had that morning before I met him. But now I'm like, oh, it's just Chan. Like, he's lovely, normal, so down to earth. But I will dine out on that story for quite a long time. But yes, I've got yeah, it was really cool. And then we sat for 3 days in his office writing talking about all sorts of things that I didn't think I'd ever be talking to Channing Tatum about.
That's
So
cool.
yeah, but he's just said normal. I feel like he's quite big brother. He reminds me of my brother, because my brother's quite big and Chan's like a big dude, and he's just easygoing. And yeah, it's so fun. They're just people, aren't they, at the end of the day, doing what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they've just been sprayed with glitter in our eyes, haven't they? So
Humans need that kind of desire and the goal and looking better themselves and sort of idolizing. It's kind of part of so we put things into hierarchies in our heads kind of subconsciously, and it's kind of part of our sort of makeup, as it were. We've always appointed a chief of, no matter going way back when, like we need people in sort of power, and our new power now is celebrity. So it's part of the human makeup.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That's something you don't, unless you've like obviously learned that in the process of everything that you do, that a normal, I say normal, relatively normal person like me, that I mean, my skills don't lie in sort of the makeup of your brain and how your mind works. It's really interesting to hear little things like that, because that makes so much sense.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm such a geek. I am such a geek. Love my neuroscience. I love my sort of all the evolutionary stuff. Like such a geek. Love a good book. Not had as much chance to read. But you can discover all of these things. It's just where your interests lie, isn't it? And I'm fascinated, absolutely fascinated with the human condition. And I think the more you can understand that you are unique, you're this unique version of yourself, but also you are just human, and all the things that are happening and you're experiencing is part of the human condition. And I think when you realize that none of it is your fault, you're not broken, it's just part of your body that you're living in, then it just becomes easier to accept. You're not doing anything wrong, you're just being a human being.
Yeah, and every single person, I mean, I say this about your voice, every single voice is unique, and you are unique as a performer, but it's the same with like your mind and just you as a human being. Like even twins aren't the same. Identical twins aren't the same. Like you'll have different thoughts, your mind could work in different ways. Like it's not necessarily going to be exactly, their path isn't going to be exactly the same as yours, in life, in career, in thought process, in anything, is it?
And the thing is people think that anything to do, when we say mental health, right, that it's somehow kind of like floating somewhere in the ether, like it's somehow separate to you. But mental health is completely physical. It's your brain and it's your nervous system. That is a completely physical thing. It's made up of hormones, glands, blood flow, just the same as, say, if you came with tonsillitis. You've got an infection on your tonsils. It's just the same. Your brain is sending messages because you are in a position where you're feeling stressed, and it's sending out certain hormones to kind of validate that. It's completely physical. It's not some sort of ethereal thing. So the more that we can understand that and make it less of a mystery, the easier it is to accept and have an awareness of it.
Yeah, so it's a physical thing as opposed to like a spiritual thing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, depending on the way that I'm still spiritual, even though I'm very scientific, but I would call that energy. So that's the way that I kind of work with what I would call I come from a spiritual point of view. But yeah, it's not a mystical, strange thing that's happening to you. It's something that's happening very much inside your body.
Connection.
There's such physical things that happen. People think it's just scary thoughts or depressing thoughts when you've got anxiety and depression or OCD, but it's not. You've got all these hormones that have all these physical effects on your body, headaches, dizziness, tight throat, lumps in your throat, shaking. There's all sorts of sweating. There's all sorts of things that happen when you have any mental health issues. It's very physical.
Yeah, it's really interesting actually to talk to you about this, because I've been very lucky. I've never really had any. I've always been quite a confident, take it on the chin kind of person. Like, I've honestly not really had any issues. I'm quite a highly emotional person. Like, if I'm happy, I'm ecstatically happy. If I'm like sad, I will cry about it. Like, if I'm having a moment where I'm dead inside, like, I am dead inside. Like, you just won't get anything out of me. But the last year and a half has completely turned me upside down. And I do think with age as well, you change. And I think I always thought when I was younger, oh, it gets easier as you get older. And I actually think the opposite. I think you put more pressure on yourself as you get older. And maybe it depends on you as a person, doesn't it? But I think it's having sort of been through a few things in this last sort of year and a half, like, it's really interesting to talk to someone like you. And this is one of the main reasons I've asked you on for an episode, because I know that at some point every single performer will go through something similar to what you've been through, something similar to what I've been through, or even in the last year and a half might have been through something that they've never felt before. So it's so important, I think, for everyone to know it's okay to not feel okay. It's okay to go and speak to someone, whether it's someone you know, whether it's someone you don't know, whether it's a professional, whether it's a friend or family member. Like, just open up. And I say that it's so hard. It is so hard, because very often you're like, oh, I don't want to burden anyone with my thoughts and with my problems. Other people have got problems, but it helps. So
it does, and that's what, you know, counselors and coaches and all that sort of thing are for, because it's a neutral ground and they have the tools. Not sometimes you're, you know, with the greatest intention, your friends and family will come from things from their perspective. And if you're lucky and you have someone that has great tools and is good at processing, brilliant. But you might find someone that doesn't, and that might be less helpful. So it's always to make sure that you're talking to the right person that's going to be helpful and that's going to help you to move forward. But yeah, this year and a half, we've never experienced anything like this in our lifetime. And here's the thing, your fight or flight mode, which is always on call, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because you've got attacked by there at 5:30 on a Friday and it was off duty, you'd be screwed. You need to have that fight or flight mode all the time. And how your fight or flight mode works is it's always looking out for uncertainty. Anything that's slightly uncertain or threatening or feels unsafe. And if it spots it, it can be the subtlest little change. People think your fight or flight goes like straight up to really acute kind of, adrenaline, like when you slam your brakes on your car and you get adrenaline all up you and, that sort of stuff. Yeah, that's it at full level, but it can also have really subtle changes. If you bump into someone when you're holding your coffee and it spills, it might not go straight to 10, but it might go to like a 7. And you'll be like, oh, that was sudden danger. It wasn't, your body computed very unconsciously. Okay, I'm not being thrown under a bus, but I'm going to spill my coffee that I just paid £4 for, very expensive coffee. And that's going to just hoik it a little bit. So your brain is designed to keep you safe and look out for danger. You're wired that way. That's why humans have evolved and lived for so long. Now, this year has been all about uncertainty. All we've had is a constant undertone of uncertainty. That is going to be, even if it's subtle, it's going to keep putting you in to what we call the sympathetic nervous system, which is fight or flight. It's going to keep pushing you into that. And because you don't know what's going to happen, and your brain will be trying to either find solutions or deal with it, or so that's where you get into the fight, flight, fawn, freeze sort of mode. Some people might freeze and feel completely sort of taken over by it and think and still and hide under the bed covers and not do anything. Some people might fawn, give into it and go into like kind of a depression. Some people might go into their flight mode, which is anxiety, and think about all the terrible things that could happen and try and run away from it. And then some people might have gotten aggressive and angry and been ranting a lot on Twitter because they're in that fight part of their mode. So it's all kind of there, and it doesn't always go 100% It might just be subtle, tiny changes. And what happens is, as that builds up over time, what we start getting is we start getting chronic stress, which is not acute stress. It's kind of built up stress. And your body and your thought processes go more and more negative. We have something called a negative bias. More and more negative, the higher and more your fight or flight mode is used. So that's why this year has been, for anyone who, you clearly are quite good at processing emotions. You know, you said, I can feel this, I can feel that. And even if they're uncomfortable or not uncomfortable, you have obviously naturally, or you were taught emotional intelligence. So you're good at processing. If you haven't got those tools and you don't know how to handle feeling uncomfortable, then that can start having an effect on you. So this year's been huge for so many people for so many reasons. And it will have affected people differently at different points. Some might have had it at the beginning, some might just be starting to feel affected now as things are opening up.
Yeah.
And they're noticing how much things have changed, or how uncertain they feel, or if they feel a little bit scared of this, and this, because they've not done it for a long time. So it's been a real good sort of look under the microscope of the human condition this past year and a half.
Yeah,
we've all been through it together.
Yeah. What's your advice for anyone that's maybe feeling sort of now feeling a bit anxious about either going back out into the world in general, that's feeling a bit anxious about maybe going to auditions, like just taking that step back into, I guess, kind of the new world, because it's not the same world anymore.
No, it's not. So obviously, if you're really struggling, reach out, find help. You can go to your GP, have a chat with them, or you can always come to me, or seek other counselling. But the main thing that I would say, if you're feeling like, oh no, I don't know if I'm quite need that, but I'm just feeling a little bit unsure, is to do it in small increments, because confidence is a muscle. Okay, so how we learn things as humans is via experiences. You think of the child and how a child learns to walk. They build up that skill. Children are tenacious and they've got a desire to learn patterns. That's how kids grow. So no matter how many times they fall over when they're learning to walk, they still get up and do it again. We get more cautious as we get older, like you say. So it's having that desire to do things in small increments, so don't overwhelm yourself at first, because that might have a stressful sort of effect, but do things slowly. So if you are going to meet a friend in a busy restaurant, just do it once that week. Try not to do it every day that week if you think it's going to overwhelm you. Go back and do a beginner's class before going into, back into your advanced pro class. So you build up that muscle basically of getting back out there. And also don't rush. Like, rushing is a real stress inducing thing. Ground your feet. If you find yourself rushing again, just walk a bit slower, ground your feet, be present, because that's really important. Just sort of like listen, invoke your senses, see what you can see, what you can hear, what you can smell, what you can touch, and just take your time. I think that's the most important thing. There's no rush.
Yeah, that's a really good piece of advice. Or whether you're stepping out back into auditions, whether you're stepping back out into social things, because we've not been in any of those environments like within the last year and a half or whatever. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think you might be feeling a bit unsure to go out with friends, maybe for a coffee. You might be feeling a bit unsure about going to that restaurant, but you also might be feeling unsure about going back to auditions. Mm-hmm. If you are going in person or going to class in person. So yeah, that's hopefully really useful advice for people that are watching, that they can, just take it one step at a time, one little thing at a time.
Build it up. And excitement is just as powerful emotion as fear and trepidation, as it were. Excitement has a huge effect on your nervous system too. It puts you into that sympathetic, it's a stimulating mode. So, not too much excitement all at once.
Yeah.
Because sometimes then when you're out of the situation, your body still feels a bit heightened. And with some anxious people, those physical sensations can then be uncomfortable, and that can cause a bit of anxiety. So excitement is just as powerful as fear.
Okay, so I've asked you what your favourite moment in your performing career is. Have you got a highlight in your coaching career, in your coaching journey?
Yeah, it's, I don't want to sound corny. Well, there's two. The first sort of course that I ran online, actually throughout all of this, I'd been wanting to do it for such a long time. And the work that I'm doing with Prep Your Rep, an amazing Kaylee O'Connor, meant that we made that happen. And that was such a dream come true, because I know that it genuinely helped a lot of performers because of, you know, lovely messages and feedback I got back from it. And I was almost just as satisfying as being on a stage and performing. I thought, wow, God, that actually, things that are in my little noggin has made a really big difference to people. So that was a huge highlight for me. But also every single client, you know, when you see them go on a journey and they come back for a session and say, so this happened, but I did this, this, and this, and I feel all right about it. And you're like, wow, if, you know what, we go back from your first session and how you wouldn't have felt all right if that had happened to you. That's fascinating for me to watch that change really happen in front of my eyes. And it makes me, it just validates the reason why I'm doing all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of, for me personally, that's one of my favorite things about coaching, seeing someone themselves, because of something that you've kind of helped with, or some knowledge that you've imparted, or some tools that you've given them, they've been able to take themselves on a step or to the next level in something, even if it's a tiny thing. I think it feels momentous for you as a coach to be watching from outside.
Totally, because even though, you know, all your tools are there and are productive and helpful, we really need our clients and our students to help us also as coaches to go, yes, they do work. You know, it's all very well as sitting and reading all our books and doing all of our education, but it really, like you say, we need our students and our clients.
100%.
It's a collaborative relationship, coaching. So that's a real highlight.
Oh, wonderful. That's really, really lovely. Now you've got, obviously, I connected with you on Instagram. You've got an incredible page full of so many useful things. I mean, you've got some fun stuff on there, some more light-hearted stuff, and then you've also got a lot of informative and sort of more knowledge centered things on there that's sort of given a lot of information, which is great. It's so nice to have that platform. Is that the best way to contact you, or do you have a website and everything like that you that people find you via, if anyone wanted to get in touch with you after this? You can find me on Instagram, and all my links, Linktree, links to everything, if you want to just check out what I'm about first. But then I also do have a website, which is sophielinderleecoaching.com. Linda with an ER, not Linda with an A. So that's that's a really good way to get me as well. And I've just redone my entire website, so please someone visit it and have a nice look. I'm still adding and finessing, but I'm quite proud of it. Did it all myself. But they're the sort of best ways to get in contact with me. Emails and all of that sort of stuff is all on that. Or you can just slide into my DMs, you know. Whatever. Nice, awesome. So before we round up, I've been asking everyone this. I will continue to ask everyone this. But if you could have dinner with anyone, alive or past, who would it be? Oh my God, 2 people. I think. Oh my God, this is so hard. I feel I need to prep everyone for this so they have decent time to think. I throw this question out and everyone's always like, oh, I don't know. Okay, I'm just going to go for it because I love her. At first, I said I was going to say Marilyn Monroe and JFK to see what the actual deal was with that and observe them. That would be epic, and try and make my own conspiracies in my head. But actually, really, the person that I just love and want to have just as an amazing career as is Julia Walters. Love her.
legend. I think she'd be lush as well. She'd be super down to earth, and I reckon she'd get really hammered and you could have a good laugh with her.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right there.
Yeah, I'd be well up for meeting Julie Walters.
Yeah, good choice. Really good choice. I like that one. Yeah, you'd have a fun evening, you'd have a fun dinner. I think she'd be well chilled out. I think she'd be hilarious.
Yeah. And lovely. And she'd take drunk selfies with you and stuff. And
yeah,
I think she'd be fun.
Cool, good choice. Well, thank you so much, Sophie, for joining me. Hopefully, if you're watching this, you've taken some of the information and it's helped, you found it useful. If you do have any questions, then feel free to get in touch with myself or with Sophie directly, or you can leave a comment below. If you did like this video, or you've got a friend maybe that might find it useful, then do share it with them, do pass it on, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.